The John Elite Show. Check me out. And we finally hit the 100,000 subscriber mark. So, congratulations to us. Hit the subscribe button, ask questions. We love your input. And let me get something going here today. I did a show on Jeffrey Epstein, the Epstein Island, the sex case, and what happened, my beliefs. If you tune in and look at some of my past shows when I speak about Epstein being, in my opinion, killed in prison. And I was at the same location as him, and I run through the story of the reasons why. And if anybody missed it, one of the most important reasons is during a head count of inmates in a prison, the count does not clear in the prison itself, and it doesn't clear through the Bureau of Prisons. It will not clear because somebody may have escaped, somebody may be holding guards hostages, and somebody may have killed himself. So there's multiple people that do counts to assure the count is correct. Until it's assured that it's correct, they don't clear count. Nobody moves in the facility. There's nobody that walks through. There's nothing that's done. Everything's on a complete halt. So if you go back and watch my old Epstein show, you'll see what I talk about and go through that and ask me questions on this show, and I'll gladly answer those questions through the YouTube. But let me get on to something else. I'm going to read a little passage about some famous sex cases that happened in the last decade. One, which I just spoke about last week, and we're going to get into it a little further. Sean Diddy Combs. And we're going to give a little history of each. Harvey Weinstein, for the people who don't know who he was. We're going to get into Bill Cosby, who was recently released, and charges were dropped against him. And they unsealed new evidence that Cosby's deposition lawsuit brought by Temple University sports administrator Andrea Constant filed charges against him just days before the 12-year statute of limitation was about to run out. For Cosby was accused of sexually assaulting her. Next one is R. Kelly, which everybody knows, and I spoke about R. Kelly briefly on another case also, another show. My lawyer at the time, Doug Anton, handled one of his cases. He had multiple cases in Chicago and New York, also sex crimes against minors. We have Kevin Spacey. In the UK, he beat those cases, those charges. Cuba Gooding Jr., his charges weren't extreme as the rest of the guys. He had some allegations of sexual assault. Nothing extreme from what I understand. His was kissing a nightclub owner without her permission, and two other women could have led to possible jail terms if they resulted in conviction. So he copped a plea. And the other is going back to the comparison now of all these cases. So you have some major people. You had Weinstein that was accused of raping an ex-girlfriend of his, and he's got a new trial coming up also. And in his case, he was very undercover, quiet about his actions. He was very private about what he was doing, how he was using his influence in Hollywood to lure girls to his house, his apartment, whether forcing them or bribing them and sexually assaulting them. Those were some of the allegations, some of the charges. But he was very, and a woman, a victim, described this about him. Lisa Phillips, I believe her name was. She was a model, and she's describing the difference between Weinstein and Epstein, who was with high elite politicians, people that were very famous around the world, whether it was this country or other countries that were on his island. So Epstein was more involved with politics. He was involved with Leon Black. And I'm going to read something about Leon Black, who gave, I believe, $158 million to Epstein. He wasn't accused. He was cleared of anything to do with Epstein Island and any kind of charges against him there. But he lied about the money he was giving Epstein. It's a credible amount of money. He was the CEO of Apollo Management, which was Apollo Global Management, excuse me. And he also donated private funds to Epstein, $10 million to one of his funds. He also lent him personal money and exuberant amount of money. So you understand the power behind some of these guys that are involved with Epstein Island. And on Weinstein's situation, he was more of a solo bird that was a predator on these women. But in both cases, these guys are multi-billionaire guys with extreme power that are taking advantage and using these women and assaulting them. On P. Diddy's situation, who I covered last week a little bit, and there's rumors that P. Diddy and Epstein were very friendly. Now, you hear different reports. They were friendly. They knew each other. They weren't very friendly. But the difference with P. Diddy is he was involved with Hollywood elites, not particularly politicians, except for uh, the rumors and the accusations that Kamala Harris was also at those parties with P. Diddy. That's yet to be seen. There's videos out that supposedly Kamala Harris are on, and people are shopping those videos. And some of the accusations that P. Diddy's in 24/7 surveillance, lockdown on security, and he's got camera surveillance on him 24/7 is because they're saying there's extra pressure on him because he threatened to release whatever information he has against some serious people in serious positions. Now, there's a lot of Hollywood elites that have came out and they're settling civil suits against them right now as we speak before criminal charges are put on them also. But the difference between P. Diddy and Epstein is P. Diddy was very flamboyant about what he was doing. He was out there. He didn't really cover it up from what Lisa Phillips is saying. And he was so arrogant that he thought that he could do whatever he wanted to do. Epstein, on the other hand, bought a private island to do what he was doing. So it was a little difficult, a little more, I guess, intense for law enforcement to have an investigation against him because he's on his own island. Eventually, he was charged with pedophilia and charged with some sexual crimes prior to the major arrest where it's supposed suicide. And Maxwell, his girlfriend, is right now in jail for bringing in these individuals into these parties and luring them for him. That's what she was accused of and convicted of. So the difference between some of these guys, and then you have Bill Cosby that was an icon on television. Everybody remembers him from the Jello pudding and the commercials, from the comedy. And he was an individual that was just going out on dates. And supposedly, this case goes back a number of years, that he was drugging and admitted to drugging, actually, his girlfriends with different drugs, illicit drugs, whether it was Percocets or Quaaludes or different drugs that would loosen them up. And then he would put them in their drinks without their knowledge. And supposedly the accusations against him were that he did this. Now, from what I understand in some of the reports, he did admit to drugging them. But the problem with his case was they went back so far that they made a verbal agreement. There's nowhere of a written agreement that they wouldn't charge him with this if he came clean and gave the accusations what he did. So I'm really not sure legally if that case can ever come back again on him, or if that case is still pending, or they're going to continue with that case. But the difference with some of these guys and the same, these guys are all powerful guys. So when anybody asks, like, why is it that you see these people in such powerful positions that are predators? Is it because they're bored? Is it because of the money? Because of the situation? They have people that are very vulnerable to them that will come out. And one of P. Diddy's bodyguards has come out against him recently and is doing a lot of talking against P. Diddy. I guess his conscience got the better of him, and he doesn't want to keep that information in because of the type of crimes of, minors, not just adults, but he's being accused of having sex with minors and also drugging them. So I'm not sure what would make, I believe his name's Leon, it's coming forward now and doing all this talking after so many years, because P. Diddy been at this from what they're saying since the early 2000s. So when you compare Epstein and you compare Diddy and you compare Weinstein, each one are very wealthy, each one is very powerful, and each one carried out these crimes in different manners. Epstein in his island, that was, uh, from what they're saying, was taping political people, and he was bribing and using that to enrich himself by letting them know that he had tapes on them so he can make millions of dollars off them and influence them in political ways that he needed. He also had situations where he had people like a prince that was, his accusations against him. He kept logs of people that supposedly were at the island, like Oprah Winfrey and uh, President Clinton, Bill Clinton. And what the biggest thing about these cases is, who are the people and why haven't any of them been charged? And why is it that the names of P. Diddy's, uh, supposedly because he's getting charged with a RICO racketeering case, with sex trafficking, and all kinds of slew of charges are being added into his case. Why is it that the Hollywood elite names are going to come out pretty quickly? From what they're saying, the names are leaking out already. People that were at the parties, whether they're involved or just at the parties, their names are leaking out. But on Epstein Island, we have not heard any names. They blocked all the information from the trials. They blocked Maxwell's trial for any information. Why aren't those names coming out? In Weinstein's case, there really weren't anybody with him besides himself and the victims. So what makes the R. Kelly case, the P. Diddy case, the Weinstein case, the Epstein case, any of these cases differ? Then why aren't these names released if they were part of a criminal organization? If you're being charged with RICO racketeering and if you're being charged with crimes of solicitation of minors, prostitution, drugging these individuals, why hasn't any names come out of who's with Epstein? Why isn't Congress speaking about it? Is it because rumors are that there were a lot of members of Congress there, a lot of members of senators there, there was a lot of members, ex-presidents there? Um, the only one that came out and spoke about whose name that was on the list was the famous attorney Dershowitz, who welcomes these lists out. So you know the man is innocent because he's saying, bring him out. Show everybody who was there. Show everybody what went on. He has nothing to hide. President Trump kicked Epstein off of Mar-a-Lago, so he has nothing to hide. But why is it seem that the DOJ, not that it seems, it's a fact, they're not releasing the names of the rest of these people that are involved in criminal acts against women and children? And when you dig deeper into that and you go into and you find, is Epstein friendly with Diddy? Did they converse in the past about women and children that they were going to bring in and try to exploit? And then you have, and I'll read this, you have Leon Black, who I spoke about earlier. And let me read it to you so I don't get this wrong. Leon Black, a billionaire co-founder of private equity giant Apollo Global Management, will be stepping down his role as CEO of the $433 billion asset firm. Black will remain as chairman and will be replaced by co-founder Mark Rowan by mid-year. The announcement of change leadership came on Monday as Apollo released findings of an investigation directed by the board of directors in Black's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, the deceased financier who was criminally charged with human trafficking in 2019. Apollo said it's an investigation conducted by the law firm found no evidence that Mr. Black was involved in any way with Mr. Epstein's criminal activities at any time. However, the report did show that Black paid Epstein a stunning $158 million in fees for services, loaned him over $30 million in loans, and made a $10 million donation to Epstein's charity. All figures that are multiples of what was previously reported. While the changing of guard atop of the world's largest private equity firm was characterized as part of its succession planning, Black is turning 70 this year and has been one of Wall Street's most feared deal makers for decades. It is also a maneuver by Apollo to move past well over a year of Epstein-related questions. But the question still remains, so who killed Epstein? You're talking about a company and people that combined are multi-billionaires. And if Epstein had the power to control a CEO of such a large private equity, who else was he controlling? And those questions are, next, will P. Diddy survive in prison? Will he be killed? Or will they say it's suicide? Will Maxwell make it out of her prison sentence? Will she end up mysteriously dying of something? Heart attack, hanging, suicides, murder? And those are the questions that are left unanswered, because as time goes on and different subjects come up, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's the Israel-Hamas conflict, whether it's Hezbollah and the Houthis shooting rockets at these countries, whether